Salut tout le monde, welcome back to the channel. I know I look a little interesting right now because I've gotten my face done off camera. I'm gonna do my eyes on here. You guys know I have been obsessing. Well, if you don't know, now you know I have been obsessing over this palette. I've been obsessing over this, so I wanted to try these eyes that I've been dying to do. Yeah, I wanted to do that and then share a story with you guys. So here we go. I don't really know what I'm going for. I never do. And then it happens. But I just know that I wanted to use this one color that I used the last time differently, like a combination. I just know I want to use that one color. Where am I going with it? I don't know. We'll know when I get there. Because I never know what eye look I'm gonna do until it actually happens. So we shall see. But anyways, the year is 2014 and I am working my first job as a nurse, right? Well, it wasn't my first job as a nurse. It was my first job as, you know, at a hospital. But my first job as a nurse was at a rehab center. That particular job was my second job as a nurse, but my first hospital gig, if you will. That was my first time being at a hospital. You get it. So I trained there and I you know, started on my own and I worked. And then I had a couple of days off. Then I went home and I came back to the floor. I could not, where I'm supposed to report, and the charge nurse, I wasn't on the assignment. My name was not on the assignment. And I went to the charge nurse. The poor charge nurse was just so confused and was looking like everywhere to see whether or not she made a mistake. So we finally found out where I was supposed to go, and I was transferred to a med-surg unit. Don't know why, well, didn't know why at the time, but I was transferred to a med-surg unit. We finally found it, but I was like so confused. I was like, if I'm hired for a step-down unit, a progressive care unit, then, and I'm new, I literally just got done being precepted, and I am transferred to a med-surg. It didn't make sense. So we were trying to figure out what the heck, you know, was going on. Like, did I do something? Am I fired? Like, did she fire me from her unit but was kind enough to get another unit to take me? Because I was on my own for like maybe a week or two before this happened. So confused. Didn't know what was going on. And we went around the unit just asking, and we finally found out that I didn't have my ACLS, and that's why she transferred me to a med-surg unit, because I couldn't work on a PCU floor without an ACLS. And I was like, how was I supposed to know that? Then that same week, I scheduled my ACLS class and I took my ACLS, and then I had my ACLS by the time that week was over. I was like, okay, I got my ACLS now. Oh, you still can't transfer for another 5 weeks. I was like, bet, no problem. So I worked my shift, and then I got transferred back to the unit for which I was hired. So I'm on the unit and working. One good day, I hit this one patient, and then it was time for me to go to lunch. I went to lunch and I give report to my charge nurse. And when I came back, which was like 30 something minutes after, she told me, oh, while you were gone, your patient did this. She handed me a strip. I'm not terrible at reading EKG strips. When I got that strip, I did not focus too much on identifying that at that moment. I just looked at the heart rate and I was like, that's no bueno. So then I ran to the patient room. She was like, oh, I already checked on her, she's fine. So I went to the patient room anyways, because it was my patient. So I went to check on my patient. When I got there, I was explaining to her what's going on. I didn't not tell her. Now, is this a good practice? I don't know. Some people will say that's not, but the patient sometimes may have history that you don't particularly know about, or they may not have disclosed, or someone may have missed. You never know. So I always try to be honest with my patient. So I told her exactly what was going on. She was like, her partner, her wife said, oh, this is something that, you know, that's been going on. She has a cardiologist and we're gonna get a pacemaker soon. She was very new to the floor and there is not much that was done on her as far as like consults and everything. So I wasn't sure how that was done. I went to the charge nurse and she was like, well, call the attending. And I called the attending, he didn't answer. So then I called his office to like place a call. Then I placed a call out to him. And I waited. So I started to put that information in the computer. Now, one thing I will say again, I don't mind admitting where I'm wrong. I was wrong in the sense that I wasn't very good at real-time charting. It was time management was not my thing. I had not mastered that, so I wasn't really good at real-time charting. So all that stuff was jotted down on a paper so that I wouldn't forget the chronological order. So I jotted down time, you know, conversation, what I did, and all that good stuff. So then I sat down. The last time I checked on her, she was doing okay. So I'm sitting down. I started to chart, and then I got a call for another one of my rooms, and I had to go because that particular patient had a Flexasil, and if you don't know what a Flexasil is, it's like a catheter, but to the back end, it collects poopage. So I left the charting, went to the room to see what was going on, and then when I came back from that room, because I'm so anxious, I hadn't heard back from the doctor, so I called the doctor again, and then I went to the room again to check on the patient. As I was coming out the room from checking on the patient, I saw like people that I couldn't readily identify at my desk, my station. I was like, okay, what's going on? I didn't know what was going on. And then as I was coming out, I saw the charge nurse. She pointed at me and she was like, there she is. I was like, okay, what did I do? I didn't know exactly what was going on. And so they asked me what was going on with the patient, and I, you know, brought them up to speed, and they were not very happy with me. And that was that. They were like, okay, we're gonna call the cardiologist to come see her since you haven't heard from the attending. She could make that call. I couldn't. Turns out she was the DON. I did follow protocol, but I didn't escalate the situation when I couldn't get a hold of the physician. Then I went home after that day that everything went down, and I went home and I got a call from the nurse manager. I was like, oh Lord, this is not good. But I left the hospital and I didn't think much of it. And so she called me to ask me when I was back to work, and I told her it wouldn't be until like the following week. And then she asked me if I could come in before my next shift. I was like, sure. So I went to her office, and she was like, well, this incident happened, and we feel like you didn't show any concern, and you weren't concerned enough to do, you know, anything about it. Because of that, I was to go back in you know, training, and it was to go back to being precepted, and for another 6 weeks, for another, I think it was like 12 weeks again, for another 12 weeks, and then I was gonna have to take, mind you, I had already taken my EKG stuff and I passed it. And she said I was gonna have to take the EKG test again, but this time I was gonna have to get like a 90 or better on the EKG test before before they would consider whether or not I would keep my job, blah, blah, blah. I was like, oh my gosh. So then I was like, okay, it's fine, it's cool. I will do that, no problem. So I went back to being precepted, which was like, if I'm honest, it was like hella embarrassing, but I did what I needed to do. my new preceptor, she was really nice. She kind of heard what was going on. She didn't make me feel worse than I already felt. She was very gracious, and for that I will always be grateful. Or it was like a whole thing on the unit because they had never seen something like this happen before, and it was like not the first time that, you know, people messed up on the unit. So they just could not understand why all this was going on over that. I started precepting, and then I went and studied, and I went back and I took the test. I did not score a 90, and she wanted me to score a 90. And the passing score is a 75. And I was like, okay, and you know, I passed it. So my preceptor was like, well, actually someone else told me, not my preceptor, someone else said, if you meet requirement and the rules have not been changed, everybody on that unit had to take that same test and score a 75 or above to be able to work that unit. Unless they change the rules for everybody, she cannot ask you to score a 90, because those are not the rules. The rules are a 75. So yeah, she started harassing me, coming after me, and just would not leave me alone. And then like other people on the unit started being like, "You've never seen anything like this before." It was like a consensus that it was just a melanin related thing. And so somebody said, why don't you just leave? I was like, no, I'm not going to leave. I'm going to leave when I'm good and ready, but she's not gonna chase me out of this hospital. And then I decided that I was gonna talk to the CEO of the hospital. I had it at this point, because like my preceptor was literally coming to work and just sitting somewhere the entire time. I had my team, I got it at this point. And I just wasn't getting anywhere with this lady. And I was like, you know, I'm just gonna see, I think that's it, y'all, because I'll be late. I was like, I'm just gonna see like the CEO. I'm not doing this anymore with this lady. And so I scheduled my meeting with the CEO, and they were like, the day of the meeting, they're like, oh, the CEO is not in, but we could talk to the COO. I was like, it's fine, I just need to talk to someone who's in charge, because I'm not gonna go. Nursing is stressful enough, and I'm not gonna go through all this while I'm trying to do my job. So I'm leaving the office of the guy, of the CEO, and I run into her, you know, in the hallway. And she was like, oh, good news, you scored an 85, so you are free. You don't have to precept anymore, so the next time you come on shift, you'll be on your own. Congratulations. You know, this chapter is over or whatever. And then, you know, I politely thanked her, and then I went home. So I reclaimed my job, and she left me alone. And then after, there was another long story, but I stayed there for a little bit longer, and then I called another place, another hospital. They had an open call, and I went there, and I got that job, and then I put in my 2-week notice over there, and then I went to that other job. So moral of the story is, the hospitals need you. Those patients need you. And just because you're new, it doesn't mean that, you know, you can't learn. And those same nurse managers at some point in time, they were new nurses too. So if you're a new nurse out there, don't allow anybody to make you feel like you're less than because you don't have the same amount of years of experience as they do. Everybody was new at some point in time, and everybody had to learn, and everybody had to be shown grace at some point in time, you know, especially nurses. Being a nurse is a hard enough profession, you know, without having a nurse manager that is like an ASS, not working with you and not being willing to sympathize with you being new and to be there to support you, instead of like looking for the fault in your action just to criticize you and belittle you. I'm a little late for something. Oh gosh. Oh no. Hopefully they're a little lenient with me. All right, so this is this is it. Let me know if you guys like the eyes. I think this is like my favorite color right now. So prepare to be sick of me. Prepare to be sick of me using that color in every look that I do from here on out, because I really, really love it. But yeah, like I was saying, or like I said before, whether you're a new nurse or you have like 100,000 years of experience under your belt, you are valuable. You deserve to be on that unit, and you deserve to be treated with love, respect, dignity, and you deserve to be appreciated, because nursing is hard work. You know, it's not just caring for the patient. There is so much more that is involved in being a nurse and working as a bedside nurse. So yeah, do not let anybody, like nurse manager, co-workers, because sometimes there are nurses that have been at the bedside for 600 years and they think that they can belittle people because they have experience. So whether it's an old nurse, by old I mean they've been there for a minute, or a nurse manager or a charge nurse, or whoever it is, and you're like brand new coming out, or you're new to that particular hospital, you deserve to occupy that space. So do not let anybody make you feel like less than, because your experiences are not similar to theirs. So that is it for today's video. I hope you guys like the look. Let me know what you think in the comments below, and I will see you guys in my next one.